stories are always going to matter. And so you'll be able to ride the ups and downs of technological changes because you're good at telling stories and you just leverage whatever current technology is there to do that.
Welcome to the Millionaire Maker Show, a podcast helping entrepreneurs scale their businesses online to create more time, more money, more freedom, and more impact. Now, with over 20 years of business building, coaching, and consulting experience, here's your host, author, speaker, and creator of the Millionaire Maker Funnel, Lindsay Anderson.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Millionaire Maker Show. I am your host, Lindsay Anderson, and today we have a very special guest episode with Mr. Andrew Biernat, all around storytelling and how that can affect your marketing, how that can affect your prospects, and how we can really bring our very own stories online so we can really resonate with our prospects and our customers. Andrew gives us a lot of tips on how to do just that. I'm so excited to have him on the show today. But before we hop into that, I want to make sure that you know that applications are now open to work with myself and my team. If you're at a place in your business where you are looking for more high quality leads and to make more consistent sales, make sure you head over to lindsayaA.com/coaching and fill out an application to work with myself and my team. We specialize in helping experts, consultants, coaches, agents, speakers really take their talents and their skills and monetize them, develop a high quality lead pool. We help you generate high quality leads and give you the marketing and sales system to enroll them into your programs or your services consistently, like a machine. So all you need to do is head over to lindsayaA.com/coaching, fill out that application, and we will share with you what those next steps will look like. So let's hop into this interview with Mr. Andrew Biernat. Hey, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Millionaire Maker Show. I am your host, Lindsay Anderson, and I'm so excited to welcome today's guest, Mr. Andrew Biernat. He hosts the Story Builders podcast and serves as a project leader at Story Builders. In this role, he helps influential leaders transform their ideas into impactful books and learning experiences. Welcome to the show, Andrew. So glad you're here.
Super excited. So glad we get to be here. And I'm really pumped that we got connected and
Yeah.
really, really blessed to be able to share about this.
Before we hop into book publishing, I want to ask you about this pickleball situation of yours.
Sure.
So, are you good at pickleball? Like you were playing volleyball, then something happened, but now you love pickleball. What's going on with pickleball?
I'm in my 30s and thought a couple years ago, I was like, you know what? I got to get back into some of my stuff that I enjoyed in high school. And one of those things was volleyball. I was on the volleyball team in high school. And I was like, okay, I'm going to start playing volleyball again. So I got back into it and immediately tore my Achilles tendon like the day I got back into it.
Sure.
Oh, so it's terrible. My wife hated it. So yeah, we had a new baby at the time and now we had this that needed help. So we worked through that and got through that. And I didn't want to risk injuring myself to that extent again. And so I was like, okay, I still need to get active though. I still need to find something I can do. And pickleball's up and coming. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna test out pickleball, see what that's all about. So started playing pickleball. I really love it. I only play about once a week and I'm semi-athletic. So I would say I'm middle of the road. I'm okay. Once in a while, I do something great, but the vast majority of the time, I'm just there to create community and have fun.
Pickleball is all the rage these days. So let's talk now about you professionally. Now we're over your pickleball career. If I were to ask you, Andrew, what are you known for? What would your answer be?
Probably storytelling and finding other people's stories. So I've been podcasting for a few years now, and other people notice that's different. Is that I can ask questions of people that elicit really fun experiences. We get to know each other really well. I help people discover what some of their core stories are, what makes them special, and follow that fascination and help people either on a podcast just tell amazing stories, or on the flip side, if I'm helping people with a book or a different type of project, help pull out the core, the soul of whatever it is that we're working on so that then they can use that in their business going forward.
And really, these days with I and the amount of competition online, it comes down to a feeling you can create. And the very best way to connect with your clients or prospects is through a story because everyone can see themselves in it. So it's more important than ever before.
Oh, 100%. And I'll share a quick anecdote. I've been posting regularly on LinkedIn for a while, and most of my posts will go a little bit, but not tremendous. But I had a post where I went a little bit deeper. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna share a little bit about myself in this one and about my family. My youngest daughter was diagnosed with a heart condition recently. Thankfully, it's not anything super scary or super nerve wracking, but she will need a procedure at some point in the next few months. And for us, that's been something that's a heart challenge for a baby, and especially because we have a nephew that had to have heart surgery immediately after he was born. That young boy is doing great. Looking at our daughter, oh man, she's got a heart thing too. And so I shared about that. I made that a part of the post, and that post has taken off way more than any other content that I ever make regarding business or other things that I talk about. And I still talked business in that post. I still tied it back into the podcast or the podcast guests that I had on the show. The fact that I was able to share deeply in a meaningful and unique way, but also tie that into something relevant and useful to the audience, I think is super critical. I think one thing that a lot of people can improve on is being vulnerable in their storytelling, but also getting to the core of why does it matter to your audience? Why should they connect with this? Why does it resonate with them?
Yes. Yeah, I like the way you put that because I it's a fine line. Like it's easy to get those likes and to get more views when you're sharing something personal like that, like something that's really easy to like or something that's really easy to hate. And what you said there is key. How do you tie the two things together, which is really a match made in heaven for social media prospects?
100%. So I think what you got to look at is you have to have certain types of posts. Like certain types of posts are going to be probably more educational. They're just going to be helpful for your audience. And other types of posts may be more designed to go viral or to be shareable. Other types of posts may let people into your world a little bit more. And so this one was one of those ones that was designed to let people into my world a little bit more. And it was significantly more popular than a lot of my other posts. But what happens is when you have certain posts that are designed to be more popular, is you find new people to bring into your audience. New people start to follow you. So now you've got more engagement based off of this one kind of a spike type post, right? Where your impressions or your views or your likes or comments go through the roof on a post. And then from then on, the rest of your educational posts see a small bump from thereafter. So I think what people need to consider is if all you've been doing is just yammering on about your business and why it matters, maybe start talking about you for a little bit. Let them get to know you a little bit and maybe put something vulnerable or unique or challenging out there and let people find you that way. And then some of those people may stick around for the other business stuff. And then you can keep going through cycles like that where you have some of these big spike moments, but then the rest of the up and down regular content that you have just stays a little bit higher because you found these new people.
Yeah, and I think it is such a gray line between this business and what's vulnerable is like too vulnerable. If my attorney's like doing this, like my attorney's not showing up in his jammies every day saying how he's not really feeling like working, where we can all really relate with that. Except for Andrew and I, we always feel like working, but we can all really relate with that. And so, like, that gets easy likes, but it's what is this saying about me? I think that's really, you got to watch for that.
100%. And I think if you want to be vulnerable, I would say start in person first. If you're not good at being vulnerable online,
Oh, I
start
like
being
that.
vulnerable in person. That's for me personally, where I started with actually groups of strangers, just sharing about myself and sharing my story. And it was lower stakes. The situation wasn't going to spiral outside of my control, and I was going to overshare on the internet, and that's going to stay there forever. Right. Whereas a conversation with someone, that's dead as soon as the words leave your mouth. I would say start being more vulnerable in person and then start testing that out. At what point did people start fading off? Or did people start getting uncomfortable and they started moving funny and fidgeting? Look
Yeah.
at people's body
Yeah.
language as you're being vulnerable. And if they're drawn in and they're staring and they just can't look away, like it's a good sign. It's a good sign that maybe a story or a level of vulnerability that can be acceptable and can be helpful on social media. But if you're noticing signs of people trying to get out of the conversation or people saying, "Oh, that's nice," when you're done talking, then it's probably a sign that you maybe went too far or you took it in a direction that wasn't helpful. For me, I always try and tie it into something bigger because if I'm just talking about myself and my problems, it's very self-centered, it's very narcissistic, and can become toxic very quickly. Whereas if I talked about my daughter's heart condition, I tied it into something. I tied it into decisions and these before and after moments in life. Very quickly, within the first 5 or 6 sentences, I transitioned right into talking about this bigger idea. And everyone can relate to that bigger idea of a before and an after. There was a before I met my wife, and there was an after I met my wife. There was a before the car accident, after the car accident, before my daughter was diagnosed with a heart condition, and after. And so what I did is I shared vulnerably, but then I also tie that into a way that they can immediately see how they can apply that principle in their own life.
So in that case, it sounds like you are applying vulnerability as your hook. Hey, here's the hook to bring in because we all know everybody likes behind the scenes dirty laundry kind of thing, but really it's this broader, more thing. Would you describe it as the hook?
I would say I think it's both, and I typed it out, and I initially put the second piece first. So as I wrote the post, I initially put it as sometimes there's these moments in life where
Okay.
things are before and after. Then I started talking about my family challenge that we're going through, and as I was looking at it, I was like, I'm gonna flip it. I'm gonna flip flop it, and I'm gonna put the family part first. My daughter was diagnosed with a heart condition. That's
Yeah,
like,
that's the hook.
boom, like that draws people's
Yeah,
eyeballs right in. Whoa, what's going on? So anybody that knows me, they're gonna want to know more about that. And then I can talk about that bigger idea. So my goal wasn't to use family as bait, but it was to let people know that, hey, we're going through this challenging time. But at the same time, like, it's not about me. It's not about trying to get likes for my daughter, right? This is about helping and serving. And so I, I've had to learn through that moment. And here's maybe something that I've learned that maybe you can learn too.
makes sense. So, was there a pivotal moment like in your life or career where you're like, storytelling, this is my passion, this is what I love?
I would say it started with being vulnerable. And I'll share this story. When I was younger, I was a party boy. And for me, I went off the deep end there. I was drinking way too much. I ended up getting fired from my first job. And I was in a really dark place in my life. Blessedly, I was able to turn things around with the help of a counselor. I came to Christ. Like my life did a 180. But a big piece of that was getting in touch with other people that were on their own journeys. And I remember going to my first 12-step group and hearing people just share. They just started telling stories and they started talking about their life and talking about stuff that to me was like, whoa, what are you doing saying that out loud? I was
Mhm.
just blown away. And it came to my turn. I'm like, hi, I'm Andrew. Nice to meet you. And I didn't really share anything. But what I found was the more I started telling stories, the more I started sharing, and the more I started opening up and being more vulnerable, number one, my life changed. I was able to get a lot of things off my chest. These dark secrets that were just hidden, squirreled away, they weren't dark anymore. I could bring them into the light. And surprise, there were a lot of other people that resonated with. As soon as I started sharing about my challenges or these things that were tough for me, it was me telling a story. But when that came to somebody else, they were able to reflect that back to me. They were able to share their own stories. A number of years ago, my wife and I had 3 miscarriages back to back over the course of a year. Terrible year.
Yeah.
And so for me, that was also a few years into my vulnerability journey. And I started sharing about it. I started talking about it on social media and actually put it in some of our email newsletters to our personal training clients at the time. And what was shocking was the number of people that would message back after emails like that, or when I had a post like that, often private messages, one on one messages, and just sharing their story. Sometimes it was related to miscarriage. Sometimes it was something completely different, though. I think when you can go out and you can tell stories in such a way that it taps into the human condition, that it taps into the challenges that other people experience, you can create profound connections and you can open up amazing opportunities for other people that you know.
Yeah, I really like that. What are as people like do this vulnerability thing and they start putting themselves out there and learn their own stories and how to tell them, what are some common obstacles that you've seen people really encounter and how do you help them overcome that?
Sure. So common obstacles for storytelling is the belief that you don't have any stories or your stories don't matter or they're not important. And that one is a false sense of humbleness, I'll call it. And the idea there is, oh, I don't matter that much, or it's not that big a deal. And some of that stems from the way you accept compliments. If someone says something nice about you, for our listeners here, what do you tend to say? Do you tend to say thank you and just be appreciative? Or do you tend to downplay it and shut it down and say, oh, I bought this at Target on, this, on a clearance rack. Oh, it's not that good. Where are we humbling ourselves and debasing ourselves too much in our responses to things? And so if we're doing that, we're often going to undervalue how we can contribute. And so I think one of the top things that people need to get over, especially when they first start telling stories, is your story can make an impact. Even if you didn't get hit by a bus and you lost the lower half of your body and now you speak from stage, changing the lives of millions, even if you're not that person, you can still tell stories that are impactful. Even if you're an average Joe or average Jane, you still have stories that are unique and special and can really change the way that people see themselves.
I like that. Yeah, everybody has gone through something, so you have to find yours.
Once you get over that obstacle, the next one may be, how do I tell that story? How do I get better at storytelling? And I think one of the first things is practice. You need to find a way to tell stories on a more regular basis. For me, I've done it a number of ways. One, I challenged myself to do 100 live videos on social media back when live was a newer thing. And it pushed me to be able to interface with a camera. It pushed me to be able to come up with something story worthy, something that would and draw people in, and help me practice my hooks, help me practice how to get people interested in something. Because you do 100 of something, you'll learn something. You probably learn
Yeah,
a lot of
100
something
reps, guys.
by the
Yes.
end of it. Yeah. And maybe just the beginning for you. So I would encourage people to find a way to tell stories on a regular basis. And content creation is a really easy way to do that. Whether you're just flipping a camera on and going live, you're sending out a weekly newsletter, or you're creating a daily post on your social media account, doesn't really matter, but find a way to commit to storytelling on a regular basis and you will improve. And you'll probably also find more stories in your own life.
I love that. Can you expound just a little bit more around your thoughts around storytelling for marketing or being able to make more sales?
Oh, 100%. So, storytelling and marketing and sales, in my mind, are indistinguishable. They have to go together. The best
Mhm.
salespeople I know tell the most stories. The best marketers I know tell stories that absolutely rivet you and draw you in. So, if you want to be a great marketer, if you want to make more sales, you have to tell more and better stories. So, if we're going to apply stories directly to marketing, directly to sales, let's reverse engineer it. Let's say you have a market that you're serving. Maybe they are coaches, right? Is a very common
Yeah,
one of people
yeah.
that you work with. So let's say you're a coach and let's say maybe you help with mindset, maybe something that you do. Okay. So what you want to do is find your ideal avatar. What's different about them? So when I was a personal trainer, I worked with women in their 50s. And one thing that was unique about them in that period of their lives is usually their kids were growing more independent. Their kids didn't really want to be around them anymore. Right? They're off doing their own things. And they finally had time to say, goodness gracious, what happened to my body the past 15 years? Right.
Right.
And that point in time was usually when they would want to start working with a personal trainer because they had the means to do it financially. And then they had the drive to do it and the time to do it. So that was the perfect mix for us as far as our client. And so, what I'd want to do for that type of client, you want to find those stories or those anecdotes that are going to connect really well with where they're at. And if you're already working with this audience, start thinking about your favorite people that you've worked with or the people that have gotten some of the most incredible results and start considering, okay, can I start sharing that story? Can I start telling that story? And maybe you generalize certain pieces, maybe you change a name, maybe you change a location so that no one is specifically called out. But you then use that story as a way to show people that their problems, what their challenges are, and you know how to help them, how to serve them. Because now when you tell that story, they see that every time I've said that to a woman in their 50s, they're like, yes, I know
Yeah.
exactly what that's like. If you can capture that in a story, that says more than you could just going over a benefits or features list. Because when you tell a story like that and you get done talking about yourself or you get done talking about your business, maybe you're networking or something, you get done with that conversation. And if they can recommend someone immediately, they say, oh man, you need to meet my friend Julie, or oh man, I got to connect you to Kevin, right? That means you've nailed it. That means they know exactly what you do. They know exactly who you help and how you help them. And they are motivated because they know you can help their person because you told that story in such a way that it just connected on a spiritual level with them. If you end a story like that and they say, "Oh, that's cool," or "Oh, that's nice," it means you missed the mark. It means they didn't quite understand who you're serving or how you're helping them, or maybe it didn't come off quite the right way. So use that as a litmus test as you're sharing stories, especially in person. You can get immediate feedback and start telling more stories where you get people that say, "Oh, you need to talk to so and so," because that means a story like that cuts right to the heart and it targets your target market.
I love it. And I want to add just a couple of things there. So, first of all, yes, if your prospects can see themselves in your client examples or your client stories, like Andrew's saying, they can see themselves there like they are on their way to becoming a client of yours. And you really want them to leave with this feeling of, how did Lindsay know that about me? That's the best compliment in marketing, is like, how did you know I was thinking that? And so taking those words, all in the nuance, the words that your client uses, you regurgitate those things, and that becomes your bait to attract more one true clients, more cookie cutter versions of that. Don't think that you're like eh, blocking yourself off from people, because there's so many people out there, and it's all about the nuance. And as they say, the riches are in the niches. Am I right, Andrew?
Oh, 100%. And then I'll share a quick example. When I was in the fitness industry, we did that exact same thing. We're very highly knowledgeable and know a lot about the human body. And I could use a term like subcutaneous fat. But guess what? Our clients
Sure.
don't use that term. They use the term belly fat or like love handles or flab, right? Those are the terms that they're using.
It's
And
true.
so while it pains me as a personal trainer to use like colloquial terms, right?
It's not really belly fat.
It's, you know what? That's what they're already saying. So let's just call it what it is. And they're going to resonate with that. And so exactly what you said, just take the testimonials or take the words that your clients are already saying and use that to talk to your new clients.
I love it. What do you see, Andrew, as the future of storytelling in this online landscape?
So everyone's going on about AI right now. We're in an AI phase and it's very exciting and there's so many cool things. And I think in the next 6 to 8 months, maybe 12 months, that'll start to die down a little bit and we'll have found the limitations of what AI is good at. And one of the things that I don't think AI will ever be a master at is telling true stories, especially your true stories, because you were there, you lived them, you experienced them. And when it comes to sharing those true stories, nothing can ever beat you. You can pull them out and use them in your marketing. You can use them in a sales conversation. You can use them from a stage in a keynote presentation. You can put them in a book and kind of build out this huge cornerstone in your business. You can use them in courses. Like these stories get to be deployed all over the place and they get to work for you in any number of ways. So as you grow and as you collect more of these stories, you get to start using them all over the place. So the future for storytelling is you finding more of these stories. And I think we're going to get more and more immersive storytelling experiences. When I was younger, video games were very simple things, right? Two-dimensional, like running into brick walls and stuff, like not much going on, right? Nowadays, people we're getting to the point where most people are going to start having headsets in the next 5 years that they're going to put on and they are going to be somewhere else. And if you can master storytelling, you'll be ready for that next phase of storytelling because storytelling's always been there from the time that we were warming ourselves up next to a fire and then going and trying to slay a woolly mammoth. Doesn't matter what the technology is, stories are always going to matter. And so you'll be able to ride the ups and downs of technological changes because you're good at telling stories and you just leverage whatever current technology is there to do that.
I love it, because really the difference between us and those AI bots is like feeling. We have feelings. And so then if we can translate our experiences into feelings and tell stories about that, the bots can't beat us on that one, Andrew.
No, I don't think so. At least not for a long time.
All right, Andrew, for my final question today, what's one thing that you wish you would have known before you got started on this journey?
Oh, man. Don't be afraid to take more risks, especially when you're younger. Is the narrative coming out of school for me was get a job and stay there. Don't be a job hopper. Don't do this. Don't do that. And I wish I had hopped around more because when you change environments, when you change careers, you're challenging yourself in a new way. Anytime you're in a new environment, you're going to be at your peak, right? You're at your peak learning, you're at your peak experience level. And on the other side of that too is you're going to be absorbing so much more. and you become more valuable in the marketplace, whether as an employee, as an entrepreneur, as a coach, as a consultant. The broader you can get that background and the more knowledge you can acquire and the more people you can come in contact with, the better suited you're going to be for whatever's coming next in the future, especially for those that are like just in their beginning of their entrepreneurial journey. Don't be afraid to test something out. And if it doesn't work, axe it and start over tomorrow. Run a program. If nobody's biting on it, cool. Let it die. Let's start another one. Don't be afraid of that failure. Don't be afraid of quote unquote jumping from one thing to the next. It's just a way of getting to that best thing. And when you find that best thing, you'll be wishing that you had found it sooner.
Fail forward faster, baby.
Amen.
I love that. Andrew, thank you so much for being a guest on the show. Before I let you go, I'm going to turn the time over to you. Let the audience know how to find you and anything else you want them to know.
Sure. So I think one thing to consider if you're in a spot where you're recognizing that you need to get better at telling your story, or you're trying to connect better with your audience, I need that foundational piece of my business. It's got all my best stories in it, it's got all my best frameworks in it. And I need to put that in a centralized spot, like a book or a course. So that's something that we specialize in. We help people to develop their stories, we help people to elevate their frameworks and then put that into something bigger. Whether you're newer in business or you're a little bit more established and you've got a better idea what's going on, there's a lot of ways to get help in that. And it's not all astronomical as far as price. So would encourage people to take a look at what we do. Go to mystorybuilders.com and you can check us out. Go to mystorybuilders.com/story and you can book a call with us and we can just walk you through what does it look like for you to elevate your intellectual property, right? Your stories, your frameworks in such a way that you can use those in your business to attract more clients, to grow and scale your business so that you can live the life of your dreams.
I love it. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the Millionaire Maker Show. I hope you enjoyed that interview with Andrew as much as I did. If you enjoy the Millionaire Maker Show and you enjoy the strategies that we give you here on the show, please go out and leave us a review on wherever you're streaming this podcast. It's the reviews that allow us to show up week after week, giving you the truth, the hardcore strategy on what it really takes to scale an online business. We don't hold back and we share it all here on the Millionaire Maker Show. Please go and leave us a review. Thank you to everybody who already has. Now, don't forget, applications are now open to work with myself and my team. All you need to do is head over to lindsayaa.com/coaching, fill out that application, and we will get back with you to your next step. Being able to actually build a business that works for you and not the other way around. One that you can work with, but you're not left looking at your bank account wondering, is it really all worth it? How can I break free and actually make the kind of time, money, freedom, and impact that I know I can really create here with my business? If that is, you're looking for a high quality lead source, you are looking for how to attract high quality leads and bring them through a highly systemized marketing and sales process so you can make sales on repeat, make sure you head over to lindsayaa.com/coaching, fill out that application, and we will get back with you with the next steps. I am your host, Lindsay Anderson. Cheers to you and your success.
Thank you for listening to the Millionaire Maker Show with online business consultant and creator of the Millionaire Maker Funnel, Lindsay Anderson. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Until next time.